Hi, another segment of Henry's Baseball Club. This picture that I'm showing you is the Sunday baseball. We've had a Sunday baseball program for about 38 years, and that's what you're seeing on the screen. You can see me there in the picture, a little to your left, and a lot of those guys, unfortunately, they've moved on and gotten older. This picture ballpark is about 10 years old, but we've been around for about 38 years. I wanted to show you some of this stuff because people sometimes they call and this is for the Fisher Cats. This is from Johnny Pesky. He was kind enough to autograph it and send it to me. I was at the dinner of the Granite State dinner. They have that dinner once a year, and you're welcome to go. This year it's November 23rd, 2003. It's at the Expo Center in Manchester, New Hampshire. You have to call the Fisher Cats. I think the number is 603-641-2005. The New Hampshire Fisher Cats, if you want to go to the dinner. Also, this is another poster that they gave to me. If you can get a close-up of it. And this is the flip side. And I'm good friends with the Fisher Cats, so they were kind enough to send me some stuff. And then a baseball fan the other day sent me this nice Ted Williams. It's made out of metal, painted with red and white and blue. So take a look at that. And this is a collegiate book. It's got all the colleges in it. So if you can get a close-up of that, if you can zoom in. This book has about 4,000 colleges in it. So it has the cell phone for the home coach and the athletic director and how to contact the college and so forth. Because some people, they don't realize that this is for real. On my two guests tonight are Lisa Maria Plug. What is that? Oh, the plug. Lisa Maria. I'd like to introduce my co-host, and she's a guest panelist for the evening, Lisa Marie. She's coming to you from Medford, Massachusetts. She's a huge Bostonian sports fan. She's a model, actress, and her website is 3Ws and a dot, PlayboyMissSocial.com, Playmate. Follow her at 3Ws and a dot, Facebook.com/Lisa Avanell 1109. So I want to thank you for showing up this evening. And my other guest here is MYSHOP. He plays in our Sunday program, and he's going to be asking some questions. Tonight we have a fantastic person. His name is Mell Didier. He scouts for the Toronto Blue Jays, and right now he's in Phoenix, Arizona. Unfortunately, the Skype didn't work, so we have him on the telephone. His wife is Elena, and they're real nice people. But Mel has been in and out of baseball all his life. At first he was a player in the minors, but then he realized that it was best to work at scouting. He throws right, bats right. He's 6'1", 192 at one time. And he was born June 25th, 1927.
June 15th.
Well, this says June 25th.
Oh, his Wikipedia says June 15th. He can tell us.
Okay, well, we'll get to that. Anyway, he's on the phone. We're going to get to him. So, Mel, the first question is, what happened after at high school that you got signed? I mean, what can you tell us about that?
Lo and behold, what I did, I was at Catholic High School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I played football and baseball and basketball there, and was
LSU?
an all-state, all-southern.
Yeah, were you at LSU?
Well, I was going to say that. I then had it. I was going to go to Notre Dame, but I had 4 brothers in the service at the same time. I graduated from high school. At that time, we only had 11 grades, so I graduated at 16. And Notre Dame had offered me a scholarship. Frankly, he was coming out of the service. And my mother stopped that. She says, I got 4 boys that have gone, 4 sons, older sons. And she says, you're going to go to LSU and you're going to play there. And, of course, I played there and was an All-American linebacker my sophomore year, and also pitched on the baseball team. And I signed with Detroit. I went to Detroit, flew there, and it was they had a tryout. Not a tryout, but they were looking at myself and Bubba Phillips, and we signed at Old Briggs Stadium, the old stadium that Detroit had, downtown Detroit, and signed there and went and pitched the first summer in '98. I signed in June after school, and after I signed, the next year, the spring, I was with the Major League Club at Lakeland, Florida, and I hurt my arm real bad. I was a pitcher.
Yeah, what happened? Did you overuse it, or?
No, I tell you what, it was strictly a young guy's mistake. I was 19 years old, maybe going on 20, and you know how you get excited in spring training. I had a good arm. I didn't have very good control, but I had a good arm. And they wanted me to pitch in this particular game, and every pitcher was going to go 3 innings. And so the first pitcher went 3, the second pitcher was going to go 3, and I was going to go 3. Well, the second pitcher got in trouble, and it was cold, very cold that day, and damp. I remember this. And I went down to warm up in the about the 5th inning, because I was going to go in on the 7th. And this pitcher got in trouble, couldn't get out of trouble, and finally the manager came and he said, "You come on in, Mel," and he said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm ready." Being young and energetic and wanting to impress everybody. And the second pitch I threw a breaking ball, and I felt like a knife had stuck me in the shoulder. And that next morning, I couldn't comb my hair. I couldn't raise my arm. And they sent me, at that time, there were no operations, as you well know, Henry. And,
yeah.
Yeah,
it wasn't like it is today.
No, there were no.
So that meant retirement for you from baseball as far as a player.
That's exactly right. They sent me to Johns Hopkins, which that was the big place to go then in Baltimore. And I went there and stayed 3 days. They x-rayed me and all that, and the doctor said, "Well, we can't do anything. Go back to the warm weather, and it may come around. It probably will not." Well, I stayed there a year, pitched a little bit in low minors, and my arm just wouldn't allow me to throw like I had once done. So I went back. I had a year to go in school. I got my degree and started coaching. And John McHale, at that time was general manager of the Detroit club, called me and he says, "Look, how about taking a part-time job while you're coaching?" And I said, "Yeah, John, that's great. I'll do it." And the next year I was a full-time scout with Detroit. And John McHale had a lot to do with my whole career. And he then became general manager of the Milwaukee Braves, and that was the one with Warren Spahn and Lou Burdette and Matthews and Joe Adcock and the great club Henry Aaron, Hank Aaron. And so I went with him to Milwaukee. Then we moved from Milwaukee Braves. We moved to the Atlanta Braves, became Atlanta Braves, and John went in as commissioner and into the commissioner's office. And in meantime, I went and I started coach football at LSU under Charlie McClendon for 2 years. And in 1968, John called me and said, "Look, I'm going to be president of the Montreal Expos. I want you to come be scouting director and player development director there." And that's when my career really took off.
Wow, that's quite a title.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, we really turned out some great players. I mean, that was the Gary Carters and the Andre Dawsons, whom I signed, and you name them, we had them. Valentine and just any number of.
Well, go ahead and mention some of the names, because some people they kind of think everything is fake. So
Andre Dawson was a great athlete out of Florida A&M that I'd signed. But Larry Parrish, the big third baseman, Steve Rogers, a right-handed pitcher. we really had some great Gary Carter, Ellis Valentine. It was just we had a lot of good players, and we developed them. And I had a great staff. I'd put together, Henry. I'd put together a young staff compared to most people. Most people had older veteran guys. I got young guys: Walter Reniak, Carl Keel, Bob Gebhardt. The Latchman boys, Marcel Latchman and Rene Latchman, Pat Doherty. I mean, these names might not be familiar to baseball people, but they were great teachers and great workers. And what I did, I coached the coaches. I didn't coach the players. I was head of it, and I coached the coaches, and we developed players, and we flipped them out real quick. And from 75 on, as you know, the Montreal club was as good as anybody in baseball. I mean, and in '94, when of course they shut down, they had a great team and they were in the lead and so forth. Now I was gone at that time. In '76, I left for the Dodgers and became Al Campanis' his right-hand man in trades. I did all the big league traded for the Dodgers. And some of the players, like Dusty Baker, that came from Atlanta, I was involved in that one. Reggie Smith from the Red Sox and the St. Louis Cardinals, I was involved in that one, excuse me. And so anyway.
What was your favorite pitch when you were a player?
What was the favorite pitch?
Yeah.
My fastball. I had a great arm.
Oh.
I had a great arm, and I could throw. And there was no guns in. There were, no guns. I couldn't
know how fast it was.
It probably in the mid 90s. Something like that. I mean.
Come on, Mel. You were throwing 100. Come on, tell the truth.
Oh, I don't profess to doing that, but I had a good arm.
Gotta love the
And
fact.
so anyway, that was part of the bringing up, and as we went down the line and so forth, and now I'm with the Toronto Blue Jays as senior advisor for professional scouting.
Yeah. So what are you covering right now? Tell the people what you did yesterday. Give them an idea of what you bring to the ballpark, or your radar gun, or a stopwatch, or explain to people exactly what you do right now.
All right. Right now we're in the process. The major leagues have a league here in the Phoenix area, and all the spring training sites. They take the 6 or 7 best players that are AA, AAA, and some A, but not many A players. 6 or 7 players from each major league club, which means 30 times 7 is 210 players. They divide those players into teams, and they have 6 teams in the league, and they call it the Arizona Fall League. And in that Arizona Fall League, they have been great, not good. The great players that you see today have come, a lot of them have come through that. I mean, just when you start looking at this thing and you see who has been in this league, it's unbelievable. I mean, Eric Chavez. I mean, you've just got any number, Matt Childers, and so on, Mackie Christian. And I'm looking at a book right now that has all the names of all the people that have played in the big leagues that have been through here. Todd Coffey, J.D. Closer, and so forth. And they've been great players. Well, it's been going on since 1992. A lot of people don't even know about it because it's not really, it's publicized here, but it's not really publicized like, in all the newspapers and everything else or televisions and all of that.
Yeah, you're saying that the best players or the potential future players that might make the roster in MLB
That's exactly right. And a lot of them...
Well, this is what you got to let the people know, Mel, because a lot of people, they don't understand the pro game. They think just because they show up, they're going to get a contract. And you let them know, it's not like that at all. You're a professional scout, right?
It's such a, it's such a demanding game. I mean, and if people understand what these players go through to get to the big leagues, Now, there are very few, there are some that'll make it in 2 years, but that's unusual, or 1 year.
Yeah, it's usually a 4 or 5 year turnaround.
Yeah, most of them take 4 or 5 years, and it's tough. And when you get in it, you get in the big leagues, now you become, that's the toughest time of all, because now you got to be good enough to stay.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, there's some tough going on when you get in the big leagues, because they pitch you real tough, as you know. And what's going on in the World Series today, you see how demanding pitching is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable, really.
Okay, well, Lisa would like to ask you a question.
Okay.
Wow, I would just like to thank you for that synopsis. I mean,
thank you.
You just did an incredible story from when you started to where you are right now, and I couldn't stop listening to every second of it. I just want to thank you for that. And
thanks, Lisa. And it is. It's a demanding sport.
Absolutely.
One of the things, and this is a quote that I use when I speak in a lot of coaching clinics throughout the country. And one of the things that I say, this is not used often, but it is. Baseball is a very highly skilled individual game that is a team sport. Now, when you break it down, you say it's a highly skilled individual game, and it is, because when you're standing with the bat and somebody's throwing 105 miles an hour at you, 100 or 95, nobody can help you hit the ball but yourself. So it's a skilled individual. Or here comes you're a third baseman and a ground ball comes scooting at you 100 miles an hour. You got to catch it, and nobody can help you. And the same thing goes in any parts of the game where you bunt, where you catch a fly ball, all these individual things. You have to be skilled. You can't be just somebody standing out there. Right. And then the last part is it's really a team fundamental game, like bunt defenses and cutoff and relays and all. There's a great teaching that has to go into that. And when you see teams like St. Louis, and you see teams of that character, you know Detroit, they have good players, they're solid, and they've been coached well. And our club, the Toronto club, we were supposed to have a good club. Here's what can happen to you. We had 5 good starters. First 3 weeks,
phone's ringing, Mel.
top starters broke down, and we were out of business, really. They broke down on us, and we had to sort of fill in and so forth. So it takes a lot of players, a lot of good players, to stay in the game and really get the job done overall, because it's a long, tough season, 162 days in a row.
Yeah, but what about all those practices and all the travel, Mel? You got to understand, I deal with a lot of people, they don't understand the pro game.
In the pro game, they start in spring training, and then a lot of people don't realize that these players, a lot of times, Henry, that they'll come to the ballpark at 2 o'clock for a 7 o'clock game, and they're underneath in the tunnels, having hitting practice off of tees and that type of thing.
This is what people need to hear, Mel. They all think it's one big cakewalk. You know what I'm saying?
Believe me, it's not.
Well, this is the time to tell people, Mel, Yeah. I tried, but, the parents call me, oh, my son is fantastic. When I go down to the park and see the guy runs an 8 flat in a 60-yard run.
Oh, geez.
Which is horrible.
Yeah, that's right.
I tell them they're looking for a 6'4" to 6'6" or 6'8" or something like that.
Exactly.
So they get angry at me because I tell them the truth.
Yes, and
So that's what I'm saying. This is your chance to come out and tell people, what do you look for in a scout? You're a scout. What do you look for in a player? What's going to get him signed?
As a player, you like to see guys with size, and strength.
Right, size is the first thing.
Long season.
And foot speed, right?
And foot speed, and if they have the arm, then they can play the positions like center field, right field, third base. You need good arm, shortstop. Now, a lesser arm at first base, a lesser arm at second base, a lesser arm in left field. And so, but the bat becomes a big, big thing. The bat is, I mean, right now, it is hard to find young men that want to pay the price because it takes a lot of work, not only during the season, but in the off season.
Right.
All of the things that go on. I mean, you take, a young man that is in pro baseball. I'll tell you what, he can spend as many as 6 to 8 hours every day during the off season.
Yeah, he's working on his skills, right?
On his skills, that's right, and like maybe helping himself get a little faster, quicker, agility drills.
Yeah, you have to react to the ball, right?
Yes.
That's what I tell people.
Yeah.
You know? And they think I'm one big liar. You know, you tell people the truth and they get angry. Go
Yeah,
ahead, Lisa. Lisa's got a question for you.
Okay.
Well, everything I was pretty much going to ask you, you gave a great synopsis. I got one question for you. Like,
All right.
who do you like for the pennant?
What's that?
She wants to know who do you think's going to win the next few games and versus the Red Sox and Detroit and so forth.
I think.
Which is your horse? Which one you got?
I think the Red Sox and the Cardinals are going to end up probably playing in the World Series.
Okay.
Thank
and you're a pro
you.
scout, so they better get in, right?
I hope they get in, but I mean, you know, it's difficult to tell because at a moment's notice, the entire picture can change. I mean,
Yeah, momentum change, right?
That's right, because it's a mental makeup, the toughness, and if you let like slight injuries, you know, bruised shins and things like that get in the way, you're not going to play baseball because you have to play 162 days in a row. And let me tell you, every third day or fourth day you jumping on an airplane, you're running here, you running there. You pack up, you come back, you play at home for about 7 days, and then you're on the road again, and it just continues on and on. And when you go 0 for 10, 0 for 12, and the people are not being too nice to you, it gets to be real.
Yeah. Then the front office wants to know why you're not producing, right?
That's right. And the big thing, Henry, the big thing is what people don't understand is baseball is a game that you have to be able to take failure. All right? Hitting. How many times? 3 out of 10, you super. That's 300. 3 hits out of 10 times. So 7 times you fail. You have to be able to take care of that. Now, let me ask you a question. Suppose a doctor operated 10 times and he failed 7 times.
Yeah, he wouldn't be around too long.
He wouldn't be there too long. Or a guy's a contractor and he's building bridges and he builds 10 of them and 7 of them collapse. Well, he ain't going to stay in business long.
Yeah, Mel, you're getting the point across now. You know, you're doing good. All
That
right.
was great.
And so what a kid has to learn, and this is tough because sometimes, you know, like high school kids are the real good ones. They're used to hitting 500 and 600 and all of that. You know, 6 out of 10, they really crush the ball. Well, that's not going to happen in pro baseball.
Yeah, Mel, we got 5 minutes left. Unfortunately, the time goes here real quick. Lisa wants to ask you one more question, and then MYSHOP. Go ahead.
Let's see. I picked out a few questions I wanted to ask. Since we got 5 minutes left.
All right.
How cold was it in Canada, and how long did you stay there with the Toronto Blue Jays?
Well, let me just say this. When I was with the Montreal Expos, I moved to Canada. I went up to Canada, and I'll tell you this. I'd never been to Canada in 1969. I had not been to Canada. I took a plane out of New Orleans. It was an Eastern airline, and I flew to New York and New York to Montreal. And
I'm French Canadian, so I love
the old Cajun
Canada.
boy out of Louisiana. And we get off the plane, and now they don't have those, at that time, at those days, in 69, they didn't have the runways like, you know, you open up the door and you
They
walk
sure don't.
into a nice, comfortable, long place where you walk into the airport. you had to go down and walk on the ground. Well, they opened that door, and it was 4 degrees in Montreal. It snowed.
4 degrees?
That must have hit you in the face, huh?
Baseball weather.
Started to turn around and go back. I said, Cajun guy like me doing here.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to ask you about, I'm a knuckleball pitcher, and R.A. Dickey obviously is one of my favorite pitchers.
He's a great person, R.A. Dickey.
Excellent. Yeah, he seems like a great person from his books and videos. And
Yeah.
I was curious what your opinion of him as a pitcher is, and of course, as a person. You being a fastball pitcher, how did you take to having a knuckleballer on your team?
Well, I tell you this. I'd known R.A. before he became a knuckleball pitcher. He pitched. I was with Texas for some time, and he pitched for us there. And he was just an ordinary kind of guy. You know, I mean, he was a big league pitcher, but he was probably a long relief guy. And he fooled with the knuckleball in the outfield. And he started using it a little bit here and a little bit there, and he had his ups and downs, got sent back to the minor leagues and all, and then came up with the Mets, and that's when he perfected it. And, of course, we signed him to a 3-year contract for, I think, $45 or $50 million.
Wow.
And he's a guy that every 5 days he's going to take the mound.